Why the fuck no one listens to me when I say it's gonna be a two-stopper? Fucking hell.
I was muted. That is not a way to start. Okay. Well, welcome back to the 310 Up podcast. If you're good at lip reading, you already know I said that. We're back. France 2021. Quite an exciting race for the French Grand Prix. Usually Paul Ricard kind of brings a little I don't know, it's kind of stagnant. Just kind of a more
we've
boring
only had
race.
2 races really at Ricard, you know.
Yeah,
this is the first. You could say this
proper
is the first. One. First proper.
Yeah,
race.
this is the first real French Grand Prix. Quite exciting with the result. A lot had to do with the strategy calls between the 1 and 2 stop, but ultimately Max wins the French Grand Prix. Red Bull had a really good showing, and Mercedes kind of on the back foot the whole time. Sponsorship there,
getting the plug in right away.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just dive into it. It just seems that Red Bull really kind of had a stranglehold on the entire race. They played everything to a T, and Max drove an amazing race. Perez did as well, and Mercedes was just kind of left fumbling through like lap 30 onwards.
Yeah.
Wow. It's can you imagine us uttering the sentence, "We just had a fantastic race" at Paul Ricard? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, does it? But it's
if it was
truth.
if it was Manico, yeah, sure. You know.
Yeah, but it wasn't, and it was Paul Ricard, and it was great. And when I watch these races, I usually take notes. And at lap 46, 47, I wrote, Hamilton's lead is 5 seconds, and Max Verstappen is not going to overtake him, it seems. Then 5 laps later, you beauty, he just strolls past him and he wins the race. And I gotta say, initial reactions, Max is so exciting to watch. He's just so fun to watch. His driving, after all the Formula One I've watched over the years, it seems like every single race he does something that makes me go, wow, I'm not sure I've seen this before. Obviously, Hamilton has had similar races in Hungary 19, this year in Spain. I get all of that. But the way he went about it, how the traffic was a nightmare throughout the race, especially towards the end, how he managed to save those tires, how he managed to save them through the traffic, get around the traffic, then be 5 seconds down with 6 laps to go and still get it done. And he's unbelievable. And I've said this before, to me, the best driver on the grid is Max Verstappen since Canada 2018. He just keeps proving it to me. I absolutely love watching him race. It's a joy. It's a privilege. It's what can I say? He's just a brilliant racing driver, and I enjoyed every single second of this race today. So those are my initial thoughts. But go ahead, guys.
Yeah, well, my thoughts. I would concur with that to a degree. As a race, this was like, I was actually getting ready for like, okay, here we go, snooze fest, right? You know.
Yeah.
You know, I was about to put my feet up and everything like that, and then
Have a nap.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, right, Sunday afternoon nod off, right? You know, that kind of thing. But it all kind of started when, first of all, okay, this morning people were hyping up the chances of rain. Yes, the F3 race was affected by rain and everything like that, and there is a lot of this thunderous sort of rain hovering around Europe, you know, with the sort of heat and everything. But the thing was, I was basically like, I wasn't convinced until I actually saw it happen, because let's be honest, this was supposed to be a Mercedes track, right? And,
yeah.
You know, given anything else, it was like, right, okay, they got the big fat straights and everything, so yeah, this has got Mercedes written all over it, kind of thing. And they were genuinely good on the medium tire as well. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't fully convinced, you know, but then Max made the mistake into turn 2, which was caused by a bit of a blast of wind down the down the straight. So I don't know what happened there. He didn't even really need to like kind of brake that deeply as well. So on the replays, that was like, okay, here we go. Lewis has got it. That's it. Call it a night and everything. But then the pit stops and the undercut and also from what it looks like, Mercedes have actually got a full-blown challenge this year in every sense of the word, right? Their strategy team, basically, for the last few years, they could kick back, relax, and they whatever mistake they did, they could have always recovered from because other teams were making bigger blunders. Take Ferrari, for example, when it was 2017, 2018. Mercedes did have a few cock-ups, but they went under the radar because the other cock-ups from like Ferrari were just too big, much bigger. So
and they had the better car overall.
Oh yeah. But now with
that helps.
Yeah, exactly. And now with Red Bull and their car being, that equal, even though both cars are very different philosophies. You got the high rake and you got the low rake, and you got the one which is more into its corners and one which is all about the straight line speed and all the rest of it. They are quite evenly matched. You could flip it on you could flip a coin and you won't be able to tell. But it all just came down to Red Bull having a second driver there, right, to spoil Mercedes's chance of doing a repeat of what they did in Barcelona, right? Because in Barcelona, Perez wasn't there, and then everyone was like, "Oh, where was he?" and everything like that. Now he's here, and now Mercedes just don't have that luxury anymore. So, we actually saw a fight for the lead for the first time in France since Magny-Cours 2008. And that seems like a long time ago.
Yeah,
but
it was.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, a very thrilling race throughout. Actually, there was a lot going on. With the Astons sneaking up there, the Ferraris dropping back, and God knows.
Well,
what
let's talk about the first pit stop, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
so it's Bottas who gets the first pit stop and Bottas I thought had a really good race today, and he was very strong pace wise. He kept up with both Hamilton and Max Verstappen. He was right there, and frankly, the decision to
as you heard
Yeah.
in our intro, he
it
was
could have
right.
been better.
Yeah, it could have been
exactly.
better.
But other than that, he was close to Verstappen, and I think that the initial decision not to pit Hamilton first, but to pit Bottas as a means with the undercut. Undercut, can't even speak. Undercut and try to get Verstappen that way. I think it was the right decision to do. And it almost worked. That's the thing. He was quite close. But then Max covers it off. And instantly, and he just manages to do it. And then they bring in Lewis, and they had a decent pit stop. And it's not like Verstappen had a massive outlap after the pit stop, but then he ends up there anyway with P1, and he undercuts Lewis, and then that changes again the complexity of the race again, because at the start you kind of unexpectedly have Lewis getting the lead, even though Max got the good start and was there first.
Well, Max started on pole as well. That's the
exactly right, and then unexpectedly you have Lewis leading the race for like the first 20 laps, and then equally unexpectedly the race is turned on its head once again when somehow Max ends up in P1. And then it does seem like Mercedes have a better race car, because for the next 6-7 laps, Lewis is pushing him constantly in the DRS, in his slipstream, and Max just couldn't shake him off. He was in clean air, and he couldn't shake him off. And Lewis drove well. Credit to him. I think he didn't do anything wrong today.
No, he managed his tires quite well considering everything,
Right, and he did a good job. And then he starts to drop off after like 6, 7, 8 laps. And then it gets to a second and a half, 2 seconds, 2.2, 2.5. And then when Red Bull pulled the trigger for the second pit stop, it was like 2.7, 2.8. So Lewis was dropping off. Max was getting less pressurized, and they still make the decision to go for the second stop. I suspect that they feared that Lewis was taking it a little bit easy for a couple of laps, and then he would have pitted the second time anyway. And given that the gap was around the same between him and Max as it was
at
before,
2 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, that they thought that they might get undercut as well. And so Red Bull just said, fuck it. He's dropping out, but we're going to pit anyway, and then live with the consequences, and then force them to make a decision to pit again or not again.
And
Andrew, go ahead.
Sorry.
Well, the thing that they did is they took Mercedes' ability to beat them in that decision.
Yeah.
So they took away the 2-stop from Mercedes because
they
were
made it
the ones
first.
that pulled the trigger first.
Yeah.
And Red Bull, I like the team because they're willing to make these really tough choices. Because
Well, they do that with their drivers, isn't it?
well, yeah, but they're willing to make these kind of tough choices. They're controlling the race at that point, but they're
willing to gamble that race.
exactly
Yeah.
like they're not comfortable. Like Ferrari was always like trying to be comfortable. You always thought it's really redundant to say, but Ferrari's trying not to lose. But they were always trying not to lose the race. They were trying to hold on to it, and Red Bull seem like they've been in this situation before, and they know that if they can put Mercedes on the back heel, that they control it later in the race because they have a lot more confidence with their car. The thing that's questionable is why didn't I don't understand why Mercedes didn't put Bottas on an alternate strategy.
I have a theory about that.
Can I just?
You have the ability to kind of at least gamble something.
Yeah.
You already put Bottas on the first stop, first. And it was just like, well, what do you have nothing to lose? I mean, I guess you maybe lose a podium, but I just the way the race was going, I don't think Bottas is going to win. So if Red Bull's doing this kind of gamble, why don't you cover that off at least once? And if you think you're confident that Lewis can pull it out because he's managing tires and he's got better pace, then what are you really worried about? Go ahead.
Basically, just looking at the data, from
as a scrutineer.
No, not as a scrutineer, just as a nerd. I'm getting
a whiteboard. I'm getting a whiteboard. I'm gonna have
I've just got the race analysis from the FIA website, the PDF for the laps, right? The reason why Verstappen jumped Lewis like he did, Verstappen pitted on lap 18. Okay.
Yes.
His in lap was a 1 minute 58.99. Okay. Lewis pitted a lap later. His in lap was a 1:58.684. He was 6/10 slower on the in lap. However, that's not the kicker. The kicker was the outlap. Verstappen had an outlap which was basically the best part of a second faster than Lewis. If not, it was over a second faster. It was 1.1 seconds.
And that's his brilliance that Tom mentioned in the very first minutes.
So not
of
only
the
did he have a
podcast,
faster in lap by literally 6/10, and the 6/10 joke is basically for those of you who know the thing about Fernando Alonso, where he says,
he brings 6/10 every single time.
yeah.
whenever I see a timing gap of 6/10 and someone wins,
That's
by
Fernando. Yeah.
you just think of Fernando. Yeah,
but this is the point. To Andrew's point, this is what we're talking about. This is Max's brilliance.
Yeah, and compounded with the fact that Red Bull didn't even have a sub 2 second pit stop. They had a 2.5 for Max.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
is kind of average, actually.
It was a very average pit stop. It wasn't even their blitz pit stops like they usually. If they would have done that blitz pit stop, right, he would have come out miles ahead.
Done.
Right. He would have come out miles ahead, and no matter how much Lewis would have moaned and everything like that. Speaking of moaning, right, I know it's gonna go slightly off topic, but have you seen what Toto Wolff recently was saying? They've investigated Red Bull for their flexi wings and all the rest of it, tire pressures and everything. The FIA have stepped in. Red Bull are still compliant, clearly, because they won, right? And everything. And now he's apparently going after their pit equipment. What the fuck?
Okay.
What? Seriously, it's like He's going full. Forgive me
Cyril?
for saying this. Yeah, no, Cyril or Karen or whatever, right? I don't know if he's doing it for the sake of Drive to Survive, but it's
No,
he's-
I mean, I
he's
guess
Lost the
apparently-
plot, I think.
it's all politics, but he's just kind of gone off the deep end a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's like dude's lost it. I mean, he's saying that it's their pit equipment. No, it's they Red Bull. We know they practice this shit.
They've been doing this for years.
Yeah, this is not a new thing. Their
Yeah,
pit
exactly.
stops
So it's
weren't
like,
ever, it's
okay.
not like they were bad, and then they're
It's
like,
like FIA, look at their flexi wing, right? It's like, okay, they looked at it. It's like, okay, fine, we'll do a heavier load test. Fine, it's still compliant.
And
It's like, look at their tire pressures. Okay, fine. Pirelli, they basically said they didn't do nothing. And this is the thing about the tire pressures. Pirelli came out saying they didn't do anything illegal. It was just nothing written in the rules about not doing it. So if it's
which is what F1 is.
exactly finding a loop, finding a gray area and exploiting it,
They're just
you know,
salty. They're obviously,
I mean, I
they're
can't
kind of throwing a
believe-
fit now.
Yeah,
So they
exactly.
make fun of everyone throwing a fit, the last few years, and now they're the ones throwing a fit because they're losing. And it's not like they're being smoked.
no,
okay,
and
give me a
it's-
break.
Exactly. It's not like Red Bull are winning with 30-second margins like they were winning with in the beginning of the turbo hybrid.
Yeah,
era.
it's not
You know,
2015. Like, come on.
Exactly. And it's like it's just because Red Bull are that close, it's a couple of seconds that they're winning by, right?
Yeah, but
it's-
this is the
they
thing
gotta be-
about.
Red Bull's got to be loving this.
yeah.
I
I,
think
mean,
so.
DTS
But
DTS is going to be brilliant though. I mean,
My God! But like honestly, I think this is, and we talked about it a few podcasts ago. How I think I said it that I don't buy into this. We win as a team, we lose as a team.
because they clearly can't
philosophy.
lose
They
because they
can't.
don't know how to lose. They don't know how to lose.
Well, not only that. I mean, first of all, this whole thing about we never blame the people, we only blame the problem. He already blamed Bottas for stopping 2 meters off the pit stop lines.
No,
in
it was
the,
2 centimeters, isn't it? Right.
or whatever. Even if it was 2 meters. Yeah. Sorry, 2 centimeters. I can't speak. I'm so excited after this race.
No, okay, but anyway, so yeah, I mean, Red Bull are basically bringing the fight.
But getting back to the second pit stop for Mercedes, to Andrew's point, my theory is that I think they were afraid a little bit, and I use the word afraid loosely, but they were kind of uncomfortable. Let's put it this way, with leaving Lewis out there, and then putting Valtteri on an alternate strategy that might have worked. But then it would have meant that they have given their second driver, both in terms of him standing within the team and during this race, the preferential treatment twice in the same race. And I think they were uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, no, because remember, I know what you're saying. You know what this reminds me of? Singapore, 2019. When Vettel did that mega undercut as well, right?
Sure,
and then when
he wasn't supposed to win and he won.
No,
yeah.
and also remember in the same race, Bottas followed Vettel through, right? And essentially he was gonna finish ahead of thing, but then there was that infamous team radio. It's like do a 142s, right, for the next 2 laps, right?
Yeah.
Deliberately slowing him down, right? And it's like,
and I think
dude,
that's where it lies.
they would have
because-
ended up with exactly that, right? And they didn't want to make that call, right? This had Singapore written all over it, So-
And this is the weakness of. I'm sorry, Andrew. Just quickly, I think this might be the weakness of this team that sometimes they will not favor the result, which could help them in the championship. They will prefer the person, and I get that because the favoritism is going on in every single top team. It's there with Verstappen and Red Bull. It's there with Leclerc and Ferrari. We get all of that.
Yeah.
But this was a race where Valtteri might have won this race with 2 pit stops. I don't know.
Oh God, yeah,
And then Verstappen maybe finishes second and Lewis third, and then Max only gets 3 points on Lewis instead of 5. And
six because he's got the fastest lap as well. So
well, I'm saying like if Max finishes second, he has 18 points, and Lewis finishes third, he has 15 points. So now the difference is 8 points. After the day's race, he gained extra 8 points. He might have ended up with getting only 3 points had they pitted Bottas for the second time.
Yes.
And you know what I'm saying. So
I get you.
and this
So
that's
what
the
you're
only
saying-
thing.
what you're saying is Mercedes are too afraid for making a strategy call that will actually benefit the team overall. Because let's be honest, what that would have done is
Put Hamilton on the back foot.
But not only that, but if Bottas, if everything went according to Bottas's plan, like he said, I told you it was a bloody two-stop, right?
He could have won.
He more than likely would have won because the Red Bull just didn't have the pace, unless on in the race runs, right? Because it was just because of the tires, and what would have happened is Mercedes as a constructor would have
gained.
Exactly. Because let's be honest, right? That's where the money is, right? The Constructors' Championship is where the money is for the team, right? So just because they were going to offend Lewis by not giving him, preferential treatment and giving it to Bottas because Bottas actually had a chance of making it work, they ended up losing both scenarios. Why do both teams have two strong drivers now, right? To cover each other off. Well, supposedly two strong drivers, because we saw that with Perez. He was shadowing last time out in Baku. He was shadowing Max Verstappen, and obviously when something happens, the other driver's there to pick up the pieces and minimize the damage for the team. So yeah,
Andrew, what did you want to say?
Yeah,
it was more or less that they're they don't want. You kind of take what you can get. You want to always control your the roll of the dice. You always want the best result, right? That's the whole point. Is you want to put yourself in the position to have the best result, but they kind of didn't today because Red Bull had the better strategy after the first pit stop. But instead of accepting and maybe trying to, get ahead of them again in terms of making a more radical call, they just kind of became stagnant. I mean, look, I'm not saying just how you guys said that have Bottas get an alternate strategy, he could potentially win the race. Worst case scenario, at least you're picking up the Constructors' Championship lead again. At least you're minimizing some sort of damage. But then, like how Tom said, now you're just stuck and you lose both scenarios, and then you're kind of sitting there looking like an idiot. I don't think Mercedes had a bad race today. I'm not trying to say
no, they could have outsmarted Red Bull, is what you're trying to say.
There were so many other teams that had worse races today.
Ferrari, we'll get onto that later.
We'll get onto it. But, I just think that being in this position for so long, you would think they'd be more willing to be like, okay, now we're being properly challenged. We need to kind of take the wins where they can get. But it kind of seems like pride kind of gets in the way a little bit, which is just kind of...
Another point.
You win at all costs kind of deal.
Yes. Another point. You know what it is? What's even weird? Okay, so you hold position, you stay out there, and you try to fight, and you couldn't win. I get that. Sometimes it happens. You roll with the punches. But then Perez overtakes Bottas. The gap behind Bottas is like 50 fucking seconds. Why would you not?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, exactly. So why would you not at least put him in for the new tires now to get the fastest lap point? So then at least Max doesn't keep that extra point, and then instead of 11 points, it's now 10 points. And okay, it's 1 point, but
too focused on Lewis the whole time to even think about that, which I just kind of don't get, because I'm like, Lewis is bleeding out there. Either he's going to be Lewis and he's going to hold him off, and you're going to be saved by Lewis today again, or what if he doesn't lose it? But even if Lewis can do that, why don't you minimize it, bring him in for Bottas for the fastest lap? I don't know if traffic came into a play.
No. There was such a massive gap, right? There wouldn't have been any.
Well, I guess So he would have been like 20 seconds ahead of Norris. So it's like, so you're just opening it up. I don't get why they didn't. And that was the whole point. I saw the telecast, and I was like, oh, that's what they're going to do now.
Yeah.
And they never cut back to it. So I'm I just assumed they tried, and then it didn't work out. But then they didn't even give it a shot.
Yeah, and
like,
then
if you want to leave those points, fine. Max will take it gladly.
Yeah.
And you give it to the points leader.
Yeah, I mean, that's like salt
It's
in
not
the
like
wound.
Perez had it.
I think it's
No.
also like I do think, and I don't want to get on Valtteri's case because I do think he had a strong race and he's had
He
a
did.
tough year, and I don't want to
No,
like
he was getting.
He did
I
great
don't,
today.
I don't want
think
to
this
rub
was a
any
good
salt
race.
into his wounds, but there are two elements today that kind of stuck out, and I think this is where the Constructors' Championship definitely could tilt towards Red Bull heavily. Two things: the undercut that could have worked, but it didn't, because he wasn't fast enough against Max Verstappen, which you can say, okay, Max did brilliantly. He did. But if there's George Russell in that seat, does he undercut him? Maybe. And then the second thing, when he was fighting against Verstappen, and everybody talked, Bono was talking to Bono, the engineer, not the singer, was talking to, he was talking to Lewis. He said basically, you're going to be all right as long as Valtteri can keep Verstappen behind for as much as possible. He does exactly the same thing what he did in Portugal. He pinches himself up the inside, completely kills his momentum, completely kills the angle for the braking point and the turn in. He runs into deep predictably, and he then allows Verstappen to take a bit more of a, not as aggressive line, but more flowing line, gets through to the chicane, then gets on his slipstream, and then the
And
Bob's
he
your
could get
uncle.
on the power earlier
Yes.
purely because he's
And-
got the more optimum line.
Right,
And-
but this is the, and we talked about before, and I completely agree with you, Andrew. He does not carry the necessary level of racecraft that is needed at this level.
He just doesn't have the amount of racecraft you would think he would have at this point.
Yeah.
Like it's
I
a
mean,
little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, even
Give
take
credit
for
to Max though. Max's
was
racecraft is
brilliant,
top
yeah.
notch.
We
So
will
it's
talk
like,
about that more.
is
yeah,
it
yeah.
is it because Bottas is kind of disappointing and Verstappen is just exceptional? I mean that kind of plays a role into
No,
it.
yeah, I know, but the other thing you got to consider is Perez, the tire whisperer, right? He could make tires last till kingdom come, right?
Yeah.
And he did that today as well, because think about it, right? Red Bull went on the alternate strategy with one of their drivers, right, Max, and that worked out, okay? And the other driver, because they knew they could trust him to get the tires to the end, right? That's probably why he's already in no doubt. He's probably got the contract signed by Helmut Marko right now on his desk.
And he
Right.
should.
Yeah, I mean,
He's doing what Gasly
doing
and
what
Albon couldn't do at that
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. And remember, what's the next race? Austria, Red Bull's
Yeah.
home race, right? I generally wouldn't be surprised. Well, Austria and Styria. I generally wouldn't be surprised if it's already been done, right? But they'll announce it later on in the season, kind of thing, right? And then we'll see it on DTS. But
Yeah.
Red Bull covered both strategies, right?
And
Mercedes-
can I
Yeah,
add
Mercedes
another?
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, Mercedes didn't. But I also think that sometimes we, as Formula One fans and Formula One community in general, we're kind of obsessed with this idea when something goes wrong or something works out in a specific way, we tend to look at the side that, well, what went wrong, instead of looking at the
What went
side who did it right. And first of all, I think Perez, at the beginning of the race, it was weird because he was being dropped by the top three and he was like 4 or 5 seconds behind. And
he was
then
holding back.
he was holding back, and then he nails that first stint, the longer first stint, works out brilliantly, and then he ends up owning in on Bottas and gets the podium. And then I think for Max, after the second pit stop, like I said, the traffic was an absolute nightmare today for the last 10, 15 laps. And the way he kept those tires in check, the way he used them smartly through the traffic, not losing too much time, but then still keeping them. Like I said, 46, 47, a lap 46, 47, I thought he was done. And then he deletes those 5 seconds with a lap to go. And it was funny because Max had a tougher time overtaking Bottas than he did Hamilton. Obviously, Hamilton's tires were much older, of course, as well. But he just strolls clean past him, and the whole team and the drivers were absolutely exceptional. So while we can talk about what Mercedes didn't do, we should never forget what Red Bull did do. And I think that made the race more than what Mercedes didn't do. That's just my point.
Also, speaking of Perez, his in lap was pretty much comparable. The fact that he pitted on lap 24 instead of lap 19 is when Hamilton pitted. Yeah. Lap 18 is when Max pitted. Okay. Lap 24 is when I'm just looking at the lap times here on FIA. And his in lap was a 158.4, which is just about as same as what Hamilton did. Hang on, just scrolling down. Quicker than Hamilton on the in lap, right? Hamilton by 0.2. Okay.
Yeah, quicker when it matters.
That's quicker with more worn out tires. Think about it, right? You know, and his pace.
0.2 is a lot. 0.2 is a lot.
0.2 on the in lap, right? And his pace, weirdly, right, was metronomically 139, 139, 139, 139. He just kept it at 139. You know, since lap 18, right, to lap 23, right, excluding his in lap, it was just constantly mid to low 139s. Perez, right, just metronomical. It actually started from lap 16, 139, 139, 139, all the way, to, that was those laps where he dropped back a bit and just kept it there, because the other drivers were dropping into the 138s actually Max actually did have a few shittier laps than
towards the end of the stint,
towards the end of the stint, but the way, Perez just metronomical 139.
Well, this is what he was brought in to do.
He had the pace of the leaders, but because I think the reason why he dropped back was to give that clean air thing, so his tires won't get worn, so he could manage them to the end. But
this was planned for sure. This was planned.
Oh god, yeah. It's like, right, you drop behind, keep just outside that dirty air window, and then when it comes, to the time, just do this lap time, and he just delivered, constantly. And this information is available for everyone to see, by the way. You could go to the FIA website and check out the events and timing information. This is available for all races, and have a look into it. And this is why I love the sport personally as a nerd, right? You could see all this information. It's there to process, and when you see it and you see how it unfolds and everything, you can basically see that this race wasn't about. This race really was a fight between all top four, apart from Mercedes fucking it up with not listening to their drivers and being too reliant on the data. But in terms of what they delivered, both Red Bulls and both Mercs were pretty much even Stevens. There was hardly any sort of okay, fine, there was one lap or two laps where, dealing with traffic, you could see that when they're dealing with traffic, but other than that, it was just like 4 cars pitted against one another, and 2 teams and their strategists pitted against one another, and it was a case of may the best team driver combination win. And that's
moving down the grid. I mean, there are other teams.
Yeah, let's move
McLaren,
on.
And I want to talk about McLaren, because right now another big storyline is third in the Constructors' Championship, which as of right now seems like it's going to be a battle between Ferrari and McLaren. And McLaren had a very good race today. Very solid results. Norris with a P5, and Ricciardo really finding his footing, probably his best race of the season with P6. He actually looked like Daniel Ricciardo.
He looked comfortable. He looked like he was alive again. You know what I'm saying? He looked like the control of the car, the braking, the overtakes. It looked like, is it 2017 again? It's like
he looked good. He looked really solid.
He was back in his prime, that kind of thing. So,
and Norris, once again, I mean, P5, the guy just keeps delivering results. I mean, you got to give it to him.
Well, consistency is what wins the championships, So
Right, and then you have who had the better qualifying pace, which was Ferrari, which is they've come out and seen. Ferrari seemed like they have a very good qualifying pace, but for race pace, they do seem to be a little lacking, but not this alarming. This was pretty. I don't know if they just got the tires wrong, if they just that chassis just really wore it out a lot more than others, but I mean, Sainz finishing
seems the
outside
way.
the points. Yeah, Sainz finishing outside the points, and Leclerc all the way down to P16.
Can you imagine?
I don't know what happened. I mean,
They just never look
not
good.
a race you want to have when McLaren's getting P5 and 6.
I mean, this is 18 points that they just dropped. That's a lot for a P3, like a P3 team. It's a lot.
Exactly.
And then you have, and I think, and even at some point, it seemed like Gasly and Alonso, they were looking kind of uncomfortable and seemed like it might not work out. Gasly P7, very good again. Alonso P8, he's getting his feet under him. I mean, he's I think already ahead of Ocon in the championship, and he's still only getting acclimatized to the car. And then you got both Aston Martins, again, long strategy with the hards. Vettel P9, Stroll
That car
P10.
is very good. I mean, that team, historically know how to make tires last, right?
Oh yeah.
So,
but
yeah.
but that they deliver.
Yeah,
the
they deliver.
results.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, just looking at the standings, and AlphaTauri seem to be imploding a bit because Aston Martin, now that they've finally found their feet, they are only 5 points behind AlphaTauri in the.
Well, it's
in
two
the
drivers
Because
against one right
Tsunoda,
now.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because Tsunoda is basically the hype train has derailed. Let's be honest, right? Have you noticed, right? Here's the thing. Tsunoda just brings out the red flags in quali all the time, right? I mean, what
He's
the
really
hell?
struggling.
He's not been solid lately.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, he got it easy in Bahrain purely because you had 3 days of testing there, right? The night before the race, right? Got the laps in and everything, and that was it. But the rest of the time, he's just become. The last 2 races, he's caused more red flags than anyone, And yeah, so Aston Martin are behind, I would say, let's say we get to Spa, right? This is my prediction, right? It'll be Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Aston Martin, then Ferrari.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You think Ferrari gonna drop off that bad?
There's a reason for that. Ferrari have said, and I quote, Lauren
That they don't
Mercedes,
deliver, that they don't develop anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not developing anymore, right? Aston Martin have basically got a B spec or a B spec Mercedes, right? All they need to do is get their drivers figured out and everything like that. Okay, and their drivers aren't half bad, especially on going ultra long, right? I mean, they were last of the late pitters, right? Instead of last of the late breakers. And AlphaTauri are just a bit erratic, let's be honest. So
AlphaTauri go as far as Pierre takes them.
Exactly. It's just a one-man team, right? If Aston consistently stay in this fringes of the top 10, right? Have a few dodgy results here and there, a few safety cars, a couple of more lucky podiums, I could easily see them taking P4.
How much points are they behind now compared to Ferrari?
The Ferrari on 94, Aston on 40, so there's 50 points. They could easily make that up by then.
Yeah.
All right, too lucky. All right, I would say Austria is a power track. Okay. But
then again, Ferrari are really good at qualifying, and Aston are not. Aston are horrible at qualifying.
Okay, there's more chance of a safety car at Austria and everything like that. Then you got Silverstone. You got quite a few beefy power tracks coming along.
Well, in Silverstone, you got the sprint qualifying too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's another thing to worry about. But I think
favors Ferrari.
I think there's a good chance between Ferrari and Aston fighting for P4.
So you think McLaren's pretty much locked on for P3?
I think it's a little bit too early because you have seen McLaren's been good. I'm not saying like 80,
now that
85%
Ricardo's
of the
come
time.
back, now that Ricardo's actually come back,
Yeah,
but we need to see that for 2 or 3 more races, though.
Okay, because the thing is, Ferrari's advantage at this early stage of the season has been the fact that to get their second driver up to speed, right, they've got a test track right there, right? Carlos Sainz has been driving an 2018 Ferrari for pounding around Fiorano lap after lap, just getting used to the way the things are and everything like that.
And they have more wind tunnel time as well.
Yes. No. Wind tunnel time is for development, right? Remember that,
Well, but
right?
still,
But no. And essentially, Carlos Sainz has put more effort in, in terms of actually learning how to work with the team, getting the calls right, and they do scenario testing essentially at Fiorano, right?
Yes.
So whereas they've got that luxury, okay, McLaren don't have it, so they've probably had Ricardo down at the simulator all the time because that's all he can do, really, And
No, but but we
same
still
with
need to
Aston
see,
Martin,
we
right?
still need to see more from Ricardo. I think he had a terrific race today, but he needs to do like, okay, not P6. Like, if he gets P7, P8 in the next two Austria races, yes, then you can see. There needs to be more consistency.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
still think that he has. I still have a lot of confidence that he can get there. I don't see Ricardo as this driver that just falls off at that.
Well,
at
he
that kind
can't
of
afford
state.
to. He can't.
No,
afford
he can't
to.
afford to.
No,
but I
because
just
he's
feel
made
like
too many wrong decisions in his career.
I just
Otherwise-
feel like God. I just feel like he still has it in the tank, especially for this season. I mean,
Well-
he just can see that he's having glimpses now, and if they're determined to have 23 races, I mean, we're still what? We're only a third of the way through, so there's a lot. There's a lot of races to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are so determined to have 23. I'm sorry, no,
I don't
mean,
think it's going to happen. I think it's a 21 at best. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just break it even at 20. I'd rather have a nice round number at like 20, and that's it. Call it a day. But that's what it is. But other than that, I mean, it was there wasn't much else to. I mean, Alonso falling down, but he ended up recovering as well in the first half of the race. He was getting swamped by pretty much everyone.
Hey, give him credit. He was good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Thanos is back. So but it's really coming. I mean, it's looking like it's going to be a really good race. I mean, the good championship overall. I mean, we've got Styria next, then we got Austria, Great Britain, then Hungary, and then Belgium after that. Okay, so I don't know.
There's a proper summer break this time as well. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
proper
they'll need
summer
it.
break. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
But this is, I think it speaks volumes. And like I said, when we are coming off of Paul Ricard and raving about the great race, it really tells a lot about the championship. I can't think of a shit race this season. Honestly, I think every single race. I mean, there's been some bad-ish
Portugal was
races.
pretty bad.
Portugal was bad,
yeah.
but still, then Hamilton had to overtake two cars to win the race. So
Yeah.
at least you have that.
No, I mean, if you're just comparing it in this season, if you were to rank the races, Portugal was the worst.
Yeah, but the worst race this
so
season.
far.
Yeah, but the worst race this season is probably like top 3, top 4 from last season.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
It's like, yeah.
apart from Monza and Sakir, I mean, those are the races. I mean, but we have a solid season so far, really good, and it's just fun to watch. It really is.
So yeah, I mean that's basically. I mean the usual suspects at the back, apart from Ferrari. What happened to them with Charles Leclerc?
Russell P12. Russell.
Yeah,
Russell.
Russell
Oh
had a
yes,
good
yeah.
race.
On merit, he finished P12. If there is going to be a mid-season swap, it won't be at Red Bull this year, right? If I get to Spa, which I will do, right, I'm pretty sure the sign above Mercedes will change to
You
George.
think so? You think so?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think
Well-
they'll ride it out.
Well, yeah,
Next-
you mean they win together and they lose together? Is that what it
No,
is?
I
right?
think it's just that I don't see it happening. Frankly, I think it's just that Russell is going to be there. I think next year,
Yeah.
but I mean, who knows? Honestly, to be honest with you, with the way Toto
because-
is right now,
Yeah.
who knows? Actually,
Yeah, because he's going after their wheel guns.
yeah.
And,
I mean-
he's going after their wheel guns. It's almost like, okay, what next? It's like, oh, can you check their fuel? They're probably putting some of their product in it, right? With the Honda engine catalyzing the Red Bull and giving it.
Look, I think at the beginning of the year when they were having this back and forth sometimes, I do think that part of it was the fact that they were trying to somewhat protect their drivers so as to have the spotlight on them rather than the drivers. So they kind of had this sparring in the press conference and stuff like that. I do think that the whole thing with Valtteri and 2 centimeters of the pit stop line.
That was bullshit.
With the wheel guns of Red Bull, I do think then you are going way too far. Then it starts to look like you're actually losing.
Someone actually needs to tell him that, hey, look, this is what competition looks like, yeah.
And that's the thing, and they were crying for it when they were winning races by 40 seconds, and now they are clutching at every single last straw.
The hypocrisy is just unbelievable. You know, I mean, it's all good being like, oh, we're very, we love friendly competition and all that. When you're winning, right? You know, and that kind of thing. So yeah.
And here's the thing. Remember 2005, and Andrew, remember 2005 when there was the decision about the pit stops and the tires that basically fucked up Ferrari royally, right?
Yeah.
I don't recall Ferrari ever bitching about it so much. They kind of, but they never said it that many times.
They stuck with Bridgestone, okay.
Yes.
And I remember this properly. It's Ross Brawn, Jean Todt, and Michael Schumacher.
The dream team.
All basically said that we lost together as a team, including Bridgestone. Right?
Yes.
When they never, pointed their finger at Bridgestone, even though the whole media were basically, everyone around the world was saying, you need to get some Michelins on that. You need to get some Michelins on that. Yes. And they said, no, we'll stay with Bridgestone. And that's what they did, But no.
And sometimes you have to accept that and move on.
It's called being magnanimous and gracious in defeat, right?
Yes.
And that, even though that wasn't defeat, that was handicapping them, right?
Yes.
That was pure out handicapping them. But yeah, no.
I mean, they weren't finishing P2,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, they that's what it is. But yeah. Anyways, I
think that kind of wraps it up. Honestly, it was more the two-way battle this time, but
it was great. I mean, and it's a triple header, so back-to-back Austrias now.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. I do think it's going to be a fun circuit.
Dibs on next week, if you want to give your dibs on next week.
I don't, because it's so unpredictable and I love it.
And you know what? This stormy weather, right?
Yes.
It's actually heading in my region. I'm about I don't know, a few hundred kilometers north of Austria, but it's heading into that Central Europe area.
Oh, dude, there's going to be thunderstorms here in Central Europe by Tuesday.
No, we're expecting it tomorrow, right? It's going to be the whole entire week, we've been told.
Yep.
Right? We're getting weather warnings and everything. So basically, we are going to have a full-blown wet weekend at Austria, or one of the Austria races. Second one, we don't know, because it's just this week that's been forecasted. It's going to be like biblical rain. So,
well, even if it doesn't happen on Sunday, it could still impact the qualifying. So,
so we might get a crazy grid,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
that's it from me. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of wraps up the French Grand Prix, and I think we'll be back for next week.
Yep, stereo.
Sure, for sure.
All right,
guys. It was
fun,
dude. Bye.